Hey everyone, welcome to DittDott. My name is Amanda. I like to make healthy homemade dinners on my channel, and tonight I am making a vegetarian meal. I am not a vegetarian, but every once in a while I do like to add a vegetarian meal in our lineup. Our main meal tonight is the curried lentil hand pies. I am so looking forward to them. They're gonna be delicious. Along the way, I'm gonna tell some shortcuts that you can take and some shortcuts that I'm gonna choose not to take. The first thing we're gonna do is make a homemade pie dough. And yes, this is the one place where I am not taking the shortcut. But if you wanna take a shortcut and buy a pre-done pie crust, please go ahead. I feel a little bit like in a garden here. How does her meme go? If you don't have fresh, salt water from the tears of virgins, then store-bought is fine. But seriously, homemade pie dough is so easy and it comes together so quickly that, and I get to control the ingredients, that this is one place where I do just whip it up really quickly. Whip it up really quickly. Okay, we will be taking shortcuts later on though. So I'm starting off, I'm gonna do enough for a double pie crust recipe because I'm making at least 4 hand pies for each person in my family. If I've got enough dough, I might make 5, I'm not sure. So starting off with 2 cups of flour and 2/3 cup of cold butter that I just chopped. And we're going to just pulse it until we get a sandy texture. If you don't have a food processor, this right here is a dough cutter. I'm trying to show, it's got like these wires here, and you put your flour and your butter in a bowl and you use this and you kind of use this motion to make your butter go into your flour. You want to take your time and get your butter incorporated into your flour as fine as you can at this stage, because at this stage you haven't added really any liquid, and so you're not going to start developing the gluten of the flour, and so your pie dough isn't going to come out tough if you over process it here. Once you add water, that's when you got to be careful and you don't want to over process or you'll have a tough crust. So I like to tap it to make the flour fall down in. I'm going to add about 1.5 teaspoons or so of salt. So the texture is like fine sand. You don't see any clumps of butter in here anymore. One of the secrets to a really good pie dough is to keep everything as cold as possible. That's why we used cold butter. And now I've got a bowl of ice water. Now I'm not gonna use the ice cubes, but again, I just want everything to be super cold. And I'm gonna drop in about 4 tablespoons of water. I'm gonna process it and then I'll add a little bit more. You wanna use as little water as possible to get your dough to come together. All right, let's pull. I'm gonna add a little bit more. So I've got a piece of plastic wrap here. You could also just use a Ziploc bag, and we're going to dump our pie dough out and we're gonna let it rest while we make the filling. So my subscribers know that I don't usually follow recipes, but when I make pie dough, that is one where keeping your ratios really does help keep a consistent crust, a product that you're gonna get used to. So, okay, I'm just gonna scrape all this out, and because we already have our food processor out, I'm gonna use it for my vegetables. Again, if you don't have a food processor, you can easily hand chop all this. Now, I have never made these hand pies before, but this is one of those recipes where I was pursuing on Pinterest, and this one looked interesting. I read through it. I got the gist of it, and then now I'm just kind of doing my own thing using that recipe as an inspiration. So if you processed it enough, it'll come together pretty good. You don't want to overwork it right here. I'm just kind of bringing it together. I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna set it in my refrigerator, and we're gonna go ahead and start making the filling for these hand pies. Okay, so normally I would chop my vegetables, but since I already have this out, I've already got it dirty, I'm going to go ahead and use it. So I've got 2 cloves of garlic that I'm just gonna give like a quick rough chop and throw them in there. And then I have half of an onion that, again, I'm just gonna quarter and put in here. And this is 1 massive carrot, or you could probably use 2 smaller ones. And again, I want everything to kind of process the same size, so I'm going to pre-chop these up a little bit and throw them in. So this isn't going to give us nice pretty dices, which, you know, if you hand chopped it, then you would get, but you know, it's all going in a pie, so I'm good. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put some olive oil in here. Put it on about medium for now, and then we'll add in my vegetables, not all of them chopped up, which is what I find is kind of a pain when you actually use the convenience of a food processor and then you're left with, like, you know, still some big chunks. But I'll pull those out and I'll put them back in when I do my cauliflower. Okay. I got this massive cauliflower from the store the other day. We've already worked on it for a different meal. So I'm just gonna pull off a couple of pieces of it. Oh, I think I have cauliflower going everywhere. And again, I'm gonna give this a rough chop and then put it into my food processor. I don't know, maybe I'm not using food processors right because I still got some big chunks. What? You know what? Whatever. We'll chop those guys up. All right, I'm gonna get this in. Give it a stir. I do love my food processor for things like making that pie dough. It makes it so much easier. And shredding carrots, like if you have to eat shredded carrots, yes. So I'm gonna give this cauliflower that was a little stubborn just a quick chop, and then I'll show you some of the shortcuts that I was gonna take, because honestly, I'm not sure if that food processor was really a shortcut or not. Ah. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, I think I'm just faster chopping myself. I don't know. Sometimes you just have ideas and they just don't work out that great. All right. Okay, so be right back. Okay, so one of the shortcuts I am gonna use, I love these potatoes, just frozen potatoes from the freezer section. And so I don't have to chop them. I think they're partially blanched. They cook up really fast. Anyway, so just is a good way to get some potato in here quickly. Okay, so I'm gonna stir those potatoes in. So that was one shortcut. Another shortcut is, I'm gonna go ahead and use canned lentils today. So you could make your own lentils and then add the cooked lentils, like if you've got any left over from a previous dish or something like that. I'm gonna go ahead and drain these and then add them in. The Pinterest recipe that I found didn't have spinach in it, but I've got this big thing of spinach that's been sitting in my refrigerator that I want to use up. So I am gonna go ahead and chop up some of the spinach and just add it. It'll add a little bit of green vegetable. It'll use up ingredient that I want to find ways to incorporate into meals over the next week, because sometimes when you buy something at the grocery store and you have a plan for it for one meal and then you've got all this leftover, you're like, what can I do with it? This is where you get creative and like, oh yeah, it would totally work in this dish. So just add it in. So as you can see behind me, I've got my little crocheted Christmas guys. I crocheted those a couple years ago. So who's old enough to remember where this scene came from? Comment down below if you know where those characters came from. All right, I'm going to add some salt and pepper. And then this is just a generic store-bought curry seasoning. I'm going to season it liberally. Now, I am going to serve these hand pies with a mint chutney sauce that I have fallen in love with with these Bombay burritos that I made recently. If you've been following me over on Instagram, you will have heard me talk about these Bombay burritos several times. They're really delicious. And that recipe came with this mint chutney. And I'll post a picture of the mint chutney and the ingredients. That's what I'm gonna serve these hand pies with. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. I'm gonna be able to stuff these really full. They'll be very filling. There's no meat in here, so they're very lean. And so you'll be able to have this like nice, big, satisfying pie without, feeling like you're eating a ton of heavy calories. So I'm gonna let this cook down. We just wanna make sure those potatoes are all the way cooked through. And then this won't take very long, and we'll start rolling out our pie dough. Okay, so I gave it a taste. I added a little bit of salt and a pat of butter because it was just feeling a little dry. And now I've got it turned off. I'm preheating my oven to 400 degrees, and I pulled my pie dough out of the refrigerator. So if you have pre-done pie dough, you'll just cut it into sections, and I'm going to cut mine into fourths. And then we'll roll one out, and I'll show you how we're gonna do this. So a little bit of flour. Started off with it in a ball. I know a lot of people rolling out pie dough is the tricky, scary part. But if your dough came together really well, it should roll out pretty easily. So you're just gonna work it and rotate. And if you need to use extra flour so it doesn't stick, then sprinkle it down. And when you have it starting to crack, I'm sorry, my counter is white, so it doesn't really show up my pie dough very well. But what I'll do is I'll take my fingers and I kind of shore up the edges. I'm using my air quotes a lot tonight. I don't know why. Anyway, I shore up the edges as I'm rolling it, and that will prevent it from cracking. So now, it's in a nice quick disc again. And when you get used to this, you can do it pretty quickly. And I want to roll it out fairly thin. My husband just came down to see what I was cooking. And he's like, "Oh, you're making vegetarian Hot Pockets." And I said, "Well, they're curried lentil hand pies." He said, "Don't call it that. No one's going to search for curried lentil hand pies. Call them vegetarian Hot Pockets." I'm like, "Yeah, fair point." So we are making vegetarian Hot Pockets. For my people overseas, I don't know if y'all have Hot Pockets. Hot Pockets are a store brand version of a hand pie, or a little pocket pie. I don't know. What do you call them in England or Australia? I know I have some subscribers from those areas. So these are actually going to be kind of big hand pies. We're going to call them plate pies. Like I said, I probably could make more of these, but I'm going to make 4. It's the calzones all over again. Watch my calzone video. I made these giant calzones where we ended up each eating just half of one for a meal. Basically what I'm saying is if you have a family of more than 4, we got you covered with this dish. I've got my trusty, well-loved cookie sheet that I'm going to spray down liberally. I do not want to forget that step and have these guys stick. And then I'm gonna put all this pie dough on 1/2 of the pie. Make sure, you know what, I'm not gonna have any extra stuffing after all. That's nice. I mean, I like having fun, creative ways to use my stuffing, but let's see, divide this, yeah, maybe a little bit more. Okay, oh, and I tasted it, it's so good. So I'm gonna fold it over, and then I'm going to crimp up the edges. Now you can use a fork. I'm just kind of rolling it, doing a very rustic kind of look here. This little part is kind of doughy. So it's all sealed in now. And then I'm going to give it 2 little vent holes, put it on my cookie sheet. I'm gonna make up the rest of them, and then I will be back. Okay, so ideally you would want to let this cool down before you do it, because what that's doing is making my dough a little soggy. So as I tried to pick this one up, it started to split. So I'm gonna actually use a spatula to transfer this one over to the cookie sheet. And you know, we're real cook here, so not everything's gonna be absolutely perfect. All right, I got one more to make and then I'll be back. And with the magic of editing, the kitchen is now clean and we're ready to do the next step. So I've got a little bowl and an egg, and we're going to brush the tops of these hand pies with egg. Give it a quick whisk. Can't talk tonight. And what this will do, it's going to help give that nice, beautiful golden appearance to our little pie doughs. So I've got my oven, like I said, preheating to 400, and I'm going to pop these in, and we're going to let them bake for about 20 minutes. And everything inside is already cooked, so we're just cooking the pie dough, getting it to a nice, pretty color. All right, so let me pop these in. Oh. Oh, and Watson get the extra egg. Watson, good boy, sit. Good boy, sit. Break. Take. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Here we go, straight out of the oven. So I actually had a little bit of my mint chutney left over, and the rest of the family isn't gonna want it. So this is plenty for me. Let's go ahead and put some of this mint chutney on top. See how this tastes. Oh my goodness. So I put a little bit of mint on the side, but you know, that was just for the photograph. Let's give these a taste. I'm gonna cut it open down the middle so we can see inside of them. Oh, the crust is nice and flaky. See that steam coming up? Gorgeous. Ooh, lots of steam. This is gonna be hot. But I'm a busy mom with kids that need to get to Taekwondo. So let's taste this and get this, see how it goes. I love it. You know what'd be good in here is a little pinch of cinnamon. I bet there's some cinnamon in the curry, which has made me think about it, but even just a little bit more would be really, really delicious. But I really like the vegetables. And here's the thing, like having something that's a little bit more decadent, like a pie crust, and then stuffing it full of vegetables, you can have kind of a treat dinner. Like, I don't know, I just love pie dough, right? Without as many calories as having a, you know, heavy, like meat filled with a cream sauce type of stuffing, right? So let's taste one more bite. Ooh, it's hot. Okay, gross. There was a bug in my mint leaves that I just got from my garden. So that was lovely. So that happened. Yeah, I just pulled these from my herb garden, and I should have given them a rinse, but since I didn't actually cook with them, I just stuck them on the plate for the photograph. Oh my God. Telling you, real life story here. And if you want some real life moments from me, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Watson, yes, I know, it's dinner time. Oh my gosh, chaos at the end of the video. Anyway, I am really working very hard to reach 1,000 subscribers. YouTube now has ads on all the videos, but creators don't get paid for those ads until we reach 1,000 subscribers. So hit subscribe and support my channel and any other small YouTuber that you love. And I really appreciate it, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye. Oh my God.